Live from the shores of Lake Erie at our Menor Lagoons outdoor studio, this is the Morning Smack. And good morning, Smackers. Welcome to the Morning Smack. Bob Gray here with you. We've got a great show today. I think you're really going to enjoy it. You're going to find it interesting. You know, one of the reasons I do this show is I bring interesting and exciting people to you, people that you can glean some information from, whether it be health and fitness, or maybe they work in Hollywood, or they're a doctor or a coach, or an expert at the top of their level in any scenario. And we've got that person today. The person we've got today received her undergrad from the University of Bradley, went on to get her master's degree at the University of Michigan. And at 24 years old, my God, that's young. Some of you haven't even gotten your GED at 24 years old. She got her PhD from the University of Minnesota. She's a body language expert. And I'm going to find out how she got into this field, what drew her to what she's doing, because it didn't start off this way. It started off differently. She wanted to be a doctor to help people that have maybe deformities and other things that go on. But she's also an author with 16 books out, and she's directed 4 documentaries. And we're going to get into a couple of them later on in the show. But I tell you what, you guys, you're going to like this lady. Let me say hello to my friend now, I hope, Dr. Lillian Glass. Hello, Dr. Glass.
So good to join you. Thank you for having me on your show.
Oh, thank you so much. I'm so glad you're here. You know, I was going through your bio, and you're on everything. You've been on every single show: CBS, ABC, CNN, HLN, Fox, NBC, MSNBC. Is there a show you haven't been on, Dr. Glass?
Sure. I'm sure we could find many, especially
now. Well, the reason
Because
they have you on is because you're an expert in deception detection and body language.
Yes.
And so they'll call you on to Fox or all these other shows to analyze during big trials if the person is being truthful or not, to the best of your ability. I mean, I know you're not a mind reader, but you do have an expertise.
Yes.
And there's certain things that go on that you pinpoint that the rest of us wouldn't.
Exactly. And I've looked at people and analyzed some of the most famous cases in terms of what is really happening. Are they telling you the truth? Are they not? Are they showing signals of deception? What's really happening? I do a lot of things in Hollywood where we look at relationships. What's going on with people's relationships? Are they really in love? Is it just a showmance? What's really happening here? So it's kind of interesting. That's kind of the fun part of what I do. And then the kind of more serious part is I work with attorneys, and I help them with their cases, criminal cases, civil cases, in state and federal court. And what I do is I analyze surveillance tapes, and also I analyze deposition tapes and give them an analysis of what's really happening, what's going on with their clients.
But you didn't start that way. You started because you were working with deformities and speech impediments. You went for speech psychology, I guess.
Yes. I got my doctorate at the University of Minnesota, and I did my dissertation on patients with facial deformities, the analysis of people that had facial abnormalities. And then I went on to UCLA School of Medicine and did a postdoctorate in medical genetics, and studied the speech and hearing problems of different genetic diseases, and was published in about 50 journals, and was headed towards an academic career, and then started a private practice. And that kind of I specialized in patients that had facial abnormalities, speech abnormalities related to that, and then I also got involved in Hollywood, and then things kind of blossomed where I worked on different movies, one of the first movies I worked on was Tootsie, and I taught Dustin Hoffman how to sound like a woman for Tootsie, and that was really exciting. And worked with every star imaginable at the time, from Sean Connery to Nicolas Cage, Andy Garcia, uh, Ben Vereen, I mean Dolph Lundgren. I mean, you name them, they came in through my doors,
Wow.
and it was really quite exciting and wonderful. And I worked with Mickey Rourke on a movie that he did, and I started noticing that I not only worked with them on their speech for the characters that they were doing and their voices, but also on their body language. And that was very, very helpful to them. How did they get into character? What do they do? And so we worked quite extensively in that area. And then um, it the press started calling me when elections would happen. What is going on with this candidate? What's going on with that candidate? And I would analyze it. And it just blew up after all these decades. And so I started doing a lot of political analysis of criminals, sports figures, anybody that was in the news, newsmakers, and analyzed what was really going on with them. And that was quite interesting.
I find it fascinating. That's kind of how I discovered you. I saw you on Fox one day with Laura Ingraham,
Yes.
and I think it was during the Murtaugh trial down in
Yes.
Georgia. You were on there analyzing. I just found your analysis and the things that you looked at that I didn't see with the naked eye, but you were able to pinpoint. What are some of the things? If I'm okay, by the way, if you see me looking away today, I'm not
Oh,
being shifty. I'm just trying to run the computer and talk to you at the same time. I'm
problem.
not being evasive or anything like that. But what are some of the things that you look for when a person is not telling you the truth?
Well, there are many things. There are four codes of communication that we have. We have the body language, the body movement. We have the facial language. What's really going on with your face? What's happening in your voice, in your speech content, and then what's really happening in terms of what you say, how you say it. So all of those four categories are analyzed in looking at the whole picture. For example, when a person is lying, oftentimes they may blink a lot, if they're in the context of you asking them a certain question. They may lick their lips, they may look away. Um, in terms of body movement, they may, lean back. So, in essence, they're taken aback, literally. So, there are a lot of things that people do that can indicate um, that they have deception. The movement of their legs. Sometimes you look at a person's feet, and if they're shuffling their feet, that may be an indicator that they may not be telling you the truth. But everything is context. Also, people may touch their nose or move their nose, move their hand over their nose, but that may strictly be due to they have an itchy nose, so you never know. Everything has to be in context.
Okay, so I've got a picture for you, because I know you can tell a lot by a picture. We've discussed
Yes.
this, and one of the most famous, and it's going to go probably in between us, this photo. But tell me, and I worked on this too in media. Tell me what this guy's thinking right there.
Oh well, he he showed not necessarily in this picture, but there was a show that he did, like If I Did It. He wrote a book and he did some press on it, and you could really see so many signals of deception where he blew air out of his mouth like that, where he just had many signals that indicated deception. But he was found not guilty in a court of law, so we can't really discuss it that much.
So yesterday, I was up late last night, and I grabbed some raw footage of the OJ verdict when they announced the verdict. And unfortunately, I wasn't able to get into the system in time. But one of the things I noticed is they had a shot of OJ when they announced the verdict.
Uh-huh,
And if I just got off the schneid on a double murder, I'd probably break into tears, hug everybody, drop to my knees,
uh-huh.
especially if you're innocent because you're facing old Sparky, right? He didn't do any of that. And then the camera panned to the Goldman family,
Uh-huh.
which was completely distraught, horribly, Ron Goldman's parents and his sister. And then they came back to OJ, and OJ, with the screaming and hollering that the Goldmans were making, didn't look over once, didn't pay him any mind, almost as if they weren't there. What would something like that tell you?
Well, that he might have been just in shock of the verdict. That could have been something, he didn't know if he would get off or not. But he certainly, had great representation. And it's proof that if you have great representation, good things can happen for you.
Yeah, I met Johnny Cochran. He came into a studio I ran in Hollywood for a while, and he came in and was watching a show, and I just looked at him and I go, Johnny, how the hell did you get him off? And his exact quote to me was, I have no idea.
It was very, very, it was fascinating trial. I mean, just
And
for,
it was forever too. Remember that? It just lasted forever.
yes, yes, because Archie was so loved. I mean, he was a hero, a
Yeah,
football hero, a television hero, a movie hero, and everybody loved him. And so this was such a shock. Nobody would have expected it. So it really garnered a lot of attention.
it sure did. He was an American Idol. He was the golden boy, OJ Simpson. No one was like him.
And so when this happened, it just was a shock to everybody. So they were riveted.
Now, I know there was another trial that you watched closely, and that was between Johnny Depp and Amber Heard. And I watched a little of that trial last night, and boy, she looked nervous. Here she is, right there. For people to look at that. Does that
Right.
look? Does that look real?
There was no question. There were so many signals of deception. Things did not make sense. And what really showed was not much of her body language, but her speech content and how she would go off on tangents. And it was just so obvious to the jury and to everybody watching across the world that she was not telling the truth totally in some instances. And, not everything, but there were enough things that she did that made people doubt what she had to say.
Yeah, there was moments in what I saw yesterday where she was trying to be a bully and dismissive of the prosecutor's questions, that instead of just answering them, she had to have this attitude with it, and it didn't do her any favors, did it?
No, it really hasn't, and it won't. People really were turned off with her, and there were a lot of people that were behind her at first and thought, "Hey, this is serious." And in fact, Johnny's career uh, was stalled because of it. He lost a lot of film business, especially with Disney and doing the Pirates of the Caribbean, and he was very ostracized. And so, he went through a lot. He went through an awful lot. And so people took it very seriously in terms of what she said. And then when they watched the trial, it was like, wait a minute, something's off here. Something's amiss.
Yeah, spoiled little angry girl, I guess.
Could be. We don't
In
know the depths of
in
her
my
psyche.
in my opinion.
In my view, yes.
So as far as criminal cases where you were brought in, not on
Yes.
television to analyze, but when an attorney brings you in, what
Yes.
big cases that we might know did you handle?
Well, um, quite a few of them. I don't really talk about them because I'm signed, I have to sign papers to that effect. But, people that have been falsely accused of sexual harassment, for example. And, at first you think, wow, the Me Too movement, of course, you would definitely side with the party that allegedly was traumatized. But then when you analyze and you see what's going on and you hear what's going on, it may not always be the case. It may be a revenge situation or a money grab. So, you really have to look at, or even a social grab. I worked on a case where there was a teacher that was falsely accused of sexually harassing students, and it was obvious that the person was telling a lie. And she was new to the school and wanted people to really like her, and so she manufactured a story. And then other students got on the bandwagon, and this poor man was career was derailed, and luckily he was uh, not. He was found that he did not do what they accused him of. But it's quite tragic when you see what's going on. And then I've also worked on the other side where somebody definitely was sexually harassed and you know abused. So that was another. But various cases, from a money extortion case to telephone fraud. I mean, all kinds of things I've worked on in my lifetime.
Now you've got one book out that I noticed about how to tell if someone's a terrorist, and you wrote it with an FBI agent.
I did.
Tell me about that book.
Well, that was during the time where that we were really on red alert, like see something, say something, and I wrote it with this wonderful FBI agent, Vince Sullivan, and we did this book together on the different cases that he had encountered and some of the things that we looked at with the hijackers. And so we saw a lot of signals of deception, and we saw a lot of signals of that we need to watch out for, like when people walk in a single file or things that are abnormal behaviors to be aware of. And now we have a new breed of terrorists, the incel terrorists, where they're kind of the terrorists that they never date, they never go out, they're not social, and they're very angry, and they take it out on the public. And
Yes,
this is something that one really has to be aware of, and
and
it does very real.
if our viewers don't know what an incel is, it means involuntarily celibate, and it seems like that's a growing trend. There's more and more men. It's usually a man
Uh-huh.
that's in his basement playing video games, not leaving the house, and
Right,
he's angry that women won't sleep with him, and he goes on a rampage and leaves a manifesto, and some of these guys have been a real problem as of late.
very, and it's quite serious, and it's sad, that it's something. And so and then you look at what is the definition. There's a new definition of what is a terrorist. So it's a fascinating realm to explore.
It's amazing. And you've got a lot of books out. And one of the things I want to tell you've written 16 books.
Yes,
16 books. And I'm going to put a couple of them up on the screen. Attracting terrific people. Attracting terrific people.
right.
That one sounds like a nice read.
That was a lovely book. The precursor to that was called Toxic People: 10 ways to tell. What
There
is
it
it?
is.
Of dealing with people who make your life miserable, and
Yeah.
that was a bestseller, and it's still selling quite well. People really want to know about how to deal with toxic people and the different 30 types of toxic terrors that there are. And, everybody has somebody in their life that has been toxic to them. And it's different for different people
Yeah.
because they
This
find
one
toxic, I may find funny. And, you know, it just depends on the person.
this is the one that worries me. Toxic men.
Yes, I hate that title. I despise it. I had a
Oh,
big fight with the publisher. I wanted it to be called Toxic Relationships. And they said, no, you have to call it Toxic Men because men don't read books, women do. And I went, oh my God. And that's when I started self publishing. And I went,
yeah.
I'm done. It was so disgusting. And it makes me look like a man hater. And I love men. So that's not the case. But,
Here,
you
here's
know,
a book title, Lillian, that puts fear into every man's spine.
what is that?
I know what you're thinking.
Yeah, I know what you're thinking, and that's a great book that about body language and the 4 codes of reading people, and that's been a bestseller all over the world. It's been really well received.
No, it looks fantastic, but people, you're not a psychic, right? So we're
Well,
not going
but anybody can really do what I do if they learn the techniques, and I try to teach it to them because you can tell so much. If you can understand body language, you know how a person's feeling about you. You can direct the conversation differently. If you see somebody back off after you say something, you can turn the conversation. You could change it. You could ask, was that disturbing, or you could explore different things. And so it really gives you an awareness. If a person likes you, a lot of times you look down and their toes are pointed in your direction, they like you. If they're on the opposite side, they're ready to go. So, oh, it tells you a lot, body language.
So, being an expert, like we just showed, I know what you're thinking. The name of that title, and if you don't want to answer this, that's fine. But as a woman, and you know what I'm thinking, you know what people are thinking. Has it helped or hurt you? Maybe back in the day when you were dating, or even now, do you look at men a little differently and go, "All right, he winked his eye kind of funny. He's out."
Not at all. Not at all.
Okay,
This is
okay.
a tool to help people. It's not a I gotcha. It's
Mm,
not a negative thing like that. And it's like, anybody, if you really open your eyes and your ears, if somebody's being sarcastic with you, and that's not your cup of tea, they've told you about who they are, about themselves. So it just reveals about the person, but it's not a judgmental tool, at least not on my end.
well, thank God.
Mhm.
I can relax now. So, what an interesting life. You've been in Hollywood for, well, I'm
Decade.
not, yeah, decades. I lived out there for over 20 years. And one of the funny conversations you and I had, we should have known each other much, much sooner,
Uh-huh.
because back in the early 90s, when the Milli Vanilli
Yes.
uh, lip sync controversy came out, they had a press conference at the Hollywood Press Club, and I was covering it with my news camera, and you were helping out the boys of Milli Vanilli.
Yes.
And we didn't know each other, but we were in the same room together, and it was kind of a big event.
Right. And I was helping them say an apology. I was helping them in terms of what they had to say, and it was uh, quite an emotional thing for both of them. And you know, back in the day when people found out that they were lip syncing, it was quite shocking because they were good-looking young men and they could dance well, and they actually could sing quite well. But this producer named Frank Farian, he was kind of in control of everything, and he had another group sing the song, "Girl, You Know It's True," and they were just very, very. They were so popular, and but it didn't look right because they had accents, severe accents.
Yes.
Rob Pilates, he had a very thick German accent, and Fabrice Morvan had a very strong French accent. So when they were interviewed, it didn't sound like they were singing because the songs kind of had a soul tune to it, a soul accent to it, and it didn't sound like them. So people were aware of what they did, but yet it ended tragically, unfortunately, for Rob Pilates. But
Yeah.
I think Fabrice rather, is doing beautifully.
You know, those two boys took so much heat for that. Now
Yeah,
everybody lip syncs, but
probably.
the difference between what they did and what they do now is they had someone else sing the song. They weren't lip syncing their own song. And
Yes.
you always hear about Rob and Fab and this scandal, but you don't hear about the two white Scandinavian guys that actually sang the song. They walked out of this scot free. In my opinion, they were just as culpable as Rob and Fab.
Actually, it was a black group,
Oh,
uh,
was I thought it was a. Oh
and
no, I mixed it up with the Macarena guys.
they were very, very. They were great, but they were not physically the package.
Yeah,
They were older, overweight. They were, in their 50s. A lot of them. Some of them were. It just didn't fit the image. Although the voice was fabulous, it didn't. But Rob and Fab were fantastic, and they dressed really cool back in the day with their shorts, and they had long braids, and they were just really trendsetters in terms of fashion.
yeah, they were very exotic, weren't they?
Yeah, and their trends, created a whole their fashion created a whole trend. So, it was really disappointing to a lot of people.
Yeah, the guys that actually sung the song, though, seems like they got away with it. No one talks about them because they weren't the front men. And
Yeah.
and that Milli Vanilli, when those guys came out, they were on the radio, MTV. It seemed like every 7 minutes.
Oh, yeah. And because they were just so attractive and just people loved to watch them. They moved so well. They were top dancers in Germany, and they were found on the dance floor. People, the producers thought this is great. They'll be the front people, and they didn't know it would be this big. They
Yeah.
really didn't. They would, nobody knew that it would be such a phenomenon.
Yeah, if people remember, they were doing a live show. Well, what appeared to be a live show, and they
Yeah,
were doing "Girl, You Know It's True," and all of a sudden the tape started skipping. "Girl, you know it. Girl, you know it." Girl, and
yeah.
one guy, I think it was Rob, just ran off stage.
My gosh, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it was a big mess.
But I worked with them, and then they tried to get their career back, and I worked with them on their, how to pronounce things when they sang, so that people could understand them better. And it was great, and they had great voices. They really could sing well. Rob really, I'm not Rob, for Fabrice Morvan. He has a beautiful voice, and I think he has a career. Uh,
He
sing-
does. And I used to see Fabrice down at Venice Beach.
yeah,
After this, he was playing at Venice Beach.
yeah,
You
he
know,
has a beautiful, beautiful voice, and unfortunately, Rob, it was just too much for Rob to take, and he killed himself.
yeah,
But it was so sad because he needed to stick it through and see it through, and he could have done very well.
yeah. So we're gonna talk about your documentaries. You've got 4
Yeah,
documentaries out. One
yeah.
in particular, I saw. It's on Tubi. It's called "Reinventing Rosalie." It's a beautiful piece.
Thank you, thank you. It's about my mother, and it's about how you can take tragedy in life and really use it to your advantage and kind of not be bitter and know that bad times aren't forever and that you can move ahead. And this is a remarkable woman who is a former Holocaust survivor. She was kidnapped uh, and taken to a gulag in Russia. And it was very, very in Siberia. And it was very, very tragic for her. And she lost 2 children. And in the meantime, it was just devastating. And she came to the United States and started a life. And in her late senior years, she started a whole new career. At 90 years old, she became an actress, and she was starring in a Super Bowl commercial.
We're gonna show that trailer for "Reinventing Rosalie" right now because
Beautiful.
I watched it. I absolutely adored your mother. I
Uh,
think I think there's other things that we can do with this, but I'm going to show the trailer. It's on Tubi. It's "Reinventing Rosalie." Check this out.
All of a sudden, one soldier ran straight over to me, and we didn't know to what destination they'd taken us. They gave me an iron stick to break the ice on the ground. Everybody had a small piece of bread and water from the faucet. The milk in the breasts disappeared. I couldn't nourish the baby. He was numb, a little skeleton, and then it starved. I had another baby girl, and the baby had tuberculosis. The child died. One day I said, let's talk about living, not about dying. Let's make a party. Hesitate and you lose.
So, Mom, now that you're 100, what do you want to do? Are you kidding me?
No.
She always has a kind word. She always smiles. She makes you happy. She's got that drive still to look beautiful and do things, and it's just amazing to me.
We all should know somebody like Rosalie so we have something to aspire to.
And I'm honored. I'm honored that she's my mother.
Indeed.
You know, that gets me so misty-eyed. And if it
Oh,
gets me, I know it gets you too,
oh,
because you get to relive your mother's voice and her image through this beautiful documentary. And she, I really wish I would have met this woman, because
she
what
was
energy, I'm sorry to get you with that. I'm sorry. But what energy and what a loving soul
oh yeah.
that
She,
took the worst thing that anything could happen to people. And when she landed here in America,
she made the best of it. Yeah.
nothing could be as bad as what she endured. And
Nothing.
so she was a tough bird.
Yeah. But so,
And
so loving and so beautiful, in every way. Just you know, very beautiful. And it was quite tragic what happened. She was honored by the White House uh, a few weeks to be 103. And on the way to Washington, uh, the we put her in a wheelchair so she could get to the uh, flight, and the wheelchair drivers dropped her, and she ended up getting a blood clot to the heart and dying. And that was quite tragic because, here that was the happiest day of her life, just uh, like a rock star, coming into the White House and just being so revered. And, it was just an amazing situation.
she um she had a zest for life
Totally.
and an ambition and a fire that kept her going year
Yes.
after year after year. And
You know,
I'm honestly, I see a lot of that in you,
really,
because you don't stop. You're always working on something. You're always creating and helping, and you're unbelievable. You're just like Rosalie.
thank you. Oh, that's the best compliment anybody could give me. Thank you.
Well, you
Uh,
learn from her. I mean, she raised you.
yeah, she was just, amazing. Excuse me, I'm tearing up, and I'm not really crying. I have some allergies going on, so
Oh, we'll take it.
you know,
We'll take
it's,
it.
it was like she was the most amazing person, and just very the love. She loved everybody, just so non-judgmental, accepted everybody, and just full of love. And I think that's the message.
Well, I think the other message that she delivered was staying active, always being out there, doing things. I don't want to give away too much of the documentary, but at the end there on her 100th birthday, you guys flew north,
Oh
way north.
yeah.
And,
So
and
we went to Alaska, and she
uh,
was dog sled riding. She always wanted to do that, and it was like, "Are you serious?" And she says, "Yes, I want to do it." So
she
we did.
was,
It
yeah,
was
she was cute.
exciting. It was just this really exciting woman, and just I was just so blessed.
Well, let's take a look at some of the photos. Here she is, ready
Yeah.
to kick some tail with the boxing gloves on.
Yes, and just really my hero. I mean, just in every way, doing just nothing kept her down. It's just just and there she is looking like a queen. We traveled around the world, and everywhere she went, she shed her light, and people were hugging her. They didn't even know her, And here we are at the premiere in Los Angeles of reinventing Rosalie, and it was really beautiful. And we traveled to Cannes Film Festival. That's where it opened, and it was just a wonderful, wonderful dog sled riding. And oh, was she happy!
Look at that smile on her
Yeah,
face.
you just lit up a room, lit
And,
up a room,
and
literally.
she was a little woman. I know you bundled her up pretty good to get her on that sled.
Yeah, she was about 5 feet. And I'm 5'9", so there was a height, but she was a giant of a woman, a giant, and
And
really, really was just tremendous. And I really recommend anybody watching it should see it. And that's when she was younger, and she was successful. Even to 18 years old, she had a factory and made men's shirts and was making a fortune. And then was kidnapped, to Siberia. But
Well, that's an interesting part of her story that I didn't know about until I saw the documentary. So basically, for the audience, if they didn't know this, during World War II or prior to the occupation, Russia and Germany had an agreement,
mhm.
and they split the country. Germany took one side, Russia took the other side. Your mother saw all the atrocities that the Nazis were committing, and your mom and your father
Mhm.
decided, heck, we're going to the border. We're going to the Russia side where it's safe.
Right,
It
exactly.
didn't turn out that way. I didn't know that the
No.
Russians back then were kind of just as diabolical as the Nazis.
Oh, yes. It was like what Hitler did and what Stalin did. It was a terrible time in history, horrible time. And, just, I mean, and then to see this, to her being at the White House, and then to be honored, and they had a flag flown over the Congress for her. And I have that flag. It was just so beautiful. I mean, just, the whole experience was, was such an honor. So surreal to live to see such a beautiful event.
I mean, she had some struggles along the way. The passing of your father, who had tuberculosis in the camp. He spent a lot of time in the hospital. The untimely passing of your brother, and she endured all of that. And yet she was still. You and her were able to manage to write
Oh,
this book, which I think is great. 100 Years of Wisdom.
100 years, and it tells you all of her. One day she had tight shoes on, and I said, "Mom, you're never happy unless your feet are happy." She said, "I say that," and I said, "Of course you say that. I have about 100 of your sayings." She says, "Oh my gosh, we should share that with the public." So she wrote this book, 100 Years of Wisdom, and it's all her sayings and beautiful pictures near it, and it was so wonderful. And one of the things she said is, if there's anything bothering you, anything, go to the doctor immediately. And so we took a picture with the doctor. That was one of the things in the book, of the saying, with Dr. Huizinga, Dr. Robert Huizinga. And he's the doctor on The Biggest Loser, and he's just this wonderful man. And he said to me, "Lillian, you need to do a book about, film about your mom." And I said, "Well, how do you do that?" He goes, "You'll figure it out. You can do it." I go, "Okay." So I figured it out and did the film. And then
It's wonderful.
thank you.
And what it shows is your mother was sharp as a tack upstairs, because
Yes,
in her 80s, she's learning how to play instruments. She's
yes,
dancing. She's entering beauty pageants.
yes.
She starts working as an actress and gets a Super Bowl commercial.
Amazing. And other commercials, so many other commercials, I can't even tell you. And, I was a stage mother. I kind of put everything aside and became the stage mother. That was the best part of my whole career. And I would take her to auditions and she would get them. A lot of athletic ones, a lot of fun ones, grandmother ones,
Yes.
adorable ones. So it was just great to see that.
Her legacy is going to last a long, long time.
I mean, that's great. And the film won 57 awards worldwide.
Wow.
So, yeah. So it's really a beautiful film. And if
It is. It's a tearjerker, but for the right reasons.
yes,
Because of joy and love, not
yes,
because of sadness.
absolutely, absolutely, just so beautiful.
And you've got another one. I want to show the trailer for this one. This one's called Hey Beautiful. You've been working on. I know you're very proud of this, because this takes you back to your early days as a
Yeah,
doctor, working with people like this. I think I haven't had a chance. I know you sent me the link. I'm going to look at it, I swear. But the trailer looks really compelling. Let's take a look at Hey Beautiful. Hello, beautiful.
Craniofacial disorders are among the most difficult to treat and heartbreaking for the families of those suffering with them.
Lori's deformity was a shock to her parents and her 3 brothers.
My dad fainted after I came out of my first surgery, and my mom's connection was lacking from the very beginning. When kids would stare at me, my mom would turn their heads. In first grade, the kids surrounded me, laughing and making fun of me. From 3 to 16, I had 29 surgeries. Sometimes you can't breathe, and it was like, am I gonna survive? I knew I was different more in high school. As I was walking to school one day, I saw these group of guys coming towards me, and they just said, "Hey, beautiful." And all I could do was run home and just cry. I kept thinking to myself, maybe I'd be better off dead. So I went up the mountain road, and I was going faster and faster. I swerved back onto the road. I had a list of things I desired in a man that I would marry, just in case God would want to fulfill that little desire in me.
I wanted to meet her. There is an inner beauty that I was able to tap into. I accept these scars, they are part of you.
I never expected it to happen.
See, you started as a doctor, but you're really turning into quite the storyteller, Dr. Lillian.
Thank you. Thank
You
you.
really
so
are. I mean, I've been working in film and television for a long time, and I know you've worked in different aspects of it, but as a director, you're kind of a neophyte, and you've come on strong. All your stuff looks great so far. I love it.
Thank you so much. I'm really enjoying this part of my career, and getting it out there. And the three of the films I've done are accepted to PBS. So right now I'm in the stage of getting underwriters for the film to appear on PBS.
That's incredible. You're doing so. Again, it goes back to Rosalie. You don't give up. Yeah, I mean, the other thing is, you got your PhD by the time you were 24. Were you going to school around the clock in summers and everything?
I wanted to. I had a goal, and I didn't want to waste any time, and I loved what I did, and I just studied and took a lot of courses and worked hard, and really buckled down, didn't play around, and that was that was kind of my first foray into what to do. But when you have a passion, when you love something, it's not difficult to do. It's exciting. And, there'll be people in life, whatever you do, they'll try to stick a foot out or whatever and hold you back, but you got to just persevere and just believe in yourself and what you're doing and your mission.
Well, you're on a mission and you're doing well. Now, we talked last night, and one of the things you brought up, because you've got all these books, how to check people's facial expressions and body language. And I've talked to a couple of my family members. I brought up what you brought up to me last night, a dog book about how you know how the dog is feeling based on their body language and their facial expressions. Please, and I know everyone's going to want to get that book that has a bet. Please tell me about this book idea.
Doggy body language, and it's going to tell you a little bit about what and basically what we do to upset our dogs. Like one of the things, you see your dog squirming around a lot when you try to put clothes on them. They hate wearing clothes. So, it's, things like that. And it's what you do to your dog that doesn't make them feel so great.
Now, you have a dog there with you, don't you?
Yes,
I thought I saw a fuzzy head.
Come here. You want to be on TV? Be on camera? Let's see if she's.
Is she shy? Is she being shy today?
Come over here. Come on. I'm going to put you on TV. Hold on.
All right. All right.
Come on. You want to be on TV? No?
Uh-oh.
Come over here. No, she's not interested.
Stage fright.
You do the TV.
If anyone was paying attention earlier, I saw a little fuzzy white head.
Yeah, she's
in the corner of the screen. So now you've got. Tell me a little bit about the other documentaries. You got one called De-escalation. Is that right?
De-escalation, about police brutality. Every day I was listening to, oh my gosh, this police event and this police event. So I decided to put my money where my mouth was. And being a body language expert, I figured maybe these police officers don't know about body language. So I went to the LAPD and gave a little lecture. And as I did that, I went, this is bigger than me. This is about bias. This is about so many other areas. So I rounded up other professionals and did this documentary about de-escalation, how cops can de-escalate a problem, and looked at all the major cases from Sandra Bland to uh, you know, George Floyd to Eric Garner, to all these different major cases that we've seen, Philando Castile, and we've seen how what could have been done, and all these different experts, including myself, say what could have been done to have avoided, to have de-escalated the problem.
That George Floyd case you referenced is very interesting because there was a lot of video of that, and the police officer that had his knee on his neck, his face was pretty much the same throughout the whole thing. You didn't see that rage, you didn't see any of that, but you just saw kind of like a coldness to him. Would you agree?
Yes, and every police officer that we interviewed that saw this was just shocked, and there was an intention there, and it was just very sick, very sad.
Yeah, and that was a big case, and
Yeah.
Minnesota got lit up over that.
And how they would like jump the gun and escalate situation, like with Eric Garner. He just, they tackled him, they surrounded him. It was just, for the punishment did not fit the crime, so to speak, for having some cigarettes out of a package, or it was just ridiculous. So it was, and even Bill Bratton is in the film, and was a police commissioner and kind of the policeman's policeman, and he's a kind of a superstar in that area. And it was just, he even commented on it.
Have you looked at the recent Marine who was on the subway? And have you looked at that tape? Have you gleaned anything from that?
Yeah, not really. I haven't really studied that case at all. But I mean, people do things in self-defense, and and a lot of emotions come up. But when you see something that's very, very blatant, and where somebody's innocent or their hands are up and then they're shot, that's the kind of situation.
I see. Where can you find that? Is de-escalation on Tubi?
Yeah, it's on Tubi as well.
Oh, it is.
Yeah.
And folks, if you don't know what Tubi is, it's a wonderful platform where they have movies and TV shows,
and
it's free. That's right, and that's where I saw Reinventing Rosalie. I'm going to look at de-escalation, and if you get a chance, everybody. I know another little movie that's on that.
It's narrated by Ben Vereen, and it is a film about a wonderful heroine, a civil rights heroine who was just amazing. She brought anti-racism to against the schools, and she did everything, in the insurance industry, real estate industry, and she was amazing. And how I got a hold of her was that with Rosalie, being 100, almost 103, when you have an elderly parent, even though they're together mentally and even though they're together physically, you want to keep them together physically. So I had a night nurse that would sleep in the same room with her, just in case she needed something. And the night nurse said to me, I love your mother so much. She reminds me of my grandmother. Oh, I said, who's your grandmother? And she told me Marnesba Tackett. And I went, oh. And I looked at some of the things they told me about Marnesba, and I read some things. And I went, oh my God, we have to do a documentary about her as well. And so I did. And it's quite a lovely documentary about a really courageous woman who saw the civil rights movement through her eyes. So you see everything that was done, from slavery, from her grandparents being slaves, to Obama's years. So she lived through everything in the 60s, and was a real force to be reckoned with, and responsible for a lot of the Black politicians out there now. So it was just quite a wonderful story to do, and I was really honored to be a part of it.
And you know what? No one would probably have heard of that story unless you did it.
Thank you.
And you got Ben Vereen too. That's a big get, huh?
Yeah, he's wonderful, and he did that. So now it's placing the films, and that film won many awards, like 25 awards in different film festivals, Black film festivals, and just beautiful film. So, it's been exciting to do these films. I've really enjoyed it. And
I think your life experience is wonderful, and I think a lot of the things that you've done as a younger woman are really paying dividends now in your career as a filmmaker and a
yes,
producer.
it's interesting that you say that. Thank you so much because I really feel so. I watch a lot of these films, especially all the documentaries I can. And, unfortunately, some of them don't have the depth, they don't have the background. And, you see this, and and even in the narrative films, I was even watching kind of a horror film, and I went, no, no, that wouldn't work psychologically, even though the film made millions of dollars. But this is this is just something that just was very near and dear, and it just happened so organically. I think everything in my career has happened organically. It didn't like I planned things and I tried, but then you never know that the practice is going to garner you world fame, and you're going to have all the celebrities coming to you, and you don't know that you're going to write a book, and it just kind of happens, and then you'll write another one, another one. You don't know you're going to do a film, and then you do one, and you do another one, and so it's just being open and being aware, and then just also keeping your mind and your heart open to what's the next chapter. Where are you going to go? What are you going to do? You just try it and see what works. You never know. You just never know.
Well, we have such a limited time here on this planet that you guys figured it out. You fight, you work, you do, and you don't waste a minute. Your mother didn't waste a minute,
No.
and you don't waste a minute. It's really remarkable how ambitious you guys were. Your mom was ambitious at 102 years old.
Yeah, and I don't think it was ambitious. It's just having fun. It's just doing things. And sometimes things don't, work out. You try different things and you're up for it. And then you turn out, oh, thank goodness that didn't happen. There was one commercial that Rosalie was up for, and I just wanted her to have it so badly, being the stage mother. It was just fabulous. It was for the Cosmopolitan Hotel, and it was in Vegas, and it was just, oh, she was perfect for it. And they had these dogs. They said, do you like dogs? And she said, oh, I love dogs. And they brought out these dogs that were bigger than her, like monster, like Great Danes. And I thought, oh, no, thank goodness that didn't work out, because, the dogs could have taken off with her.
Oh, yeah, she would have gone flying.
She was flying with the dogs. So that wasn't like a commercial that, as a stage mother, I wanted her to do. But it's like after I saw the dogs. But it's like, I think you just have to try. That's the thing, because you won't. You sometimes you'll make it your goal, sometimes you won't. Sometimes you may have a dream, and that dream is not for you. Maybe that doesn't have your name on it. So things do work out the way they're supposed to work out, I've found, at least in my life.
Yeah, what you said is very important. If you're having fun,
that's all.
Yeah, and I hear this all the time because I do a lot of different things, whether it's sports, television, or directing movies, or comedy, or acting. And people ask me, when are you going to retire? You're going to think about retiring?
Oh, never.
Retire from what? Having fun?
Yeah.
I haven't paid for a sporting event in 35 years. What are you get out of here with retire?
Well, yeah, it's just having, it's just trying whatever comes into your mind and just trying it. And that's what I really admire about this younger generation. They think of something, they try it, and it either works or it doesn't, and they don't get so affected by it, and they try something else, and if that works, fine. If it doesn't, fine. And it's just wonderful, that whole group thing. I really admire it and what's happening. You see it on Instagram, you see it on TikTok, and these are like great young people coming up doing things that they love. And
yeah, they're clever. They come up with some stuff.
Yeah. It's just a matter of figuring out your little niche, and it changes with time. It changes your life completely. What was important to you years earlier may not be that important now, and what's important now may not have been important before. So, you just really have to set your priorities. And what do you want to do? How do you want to spend your day? What do you want to look at? What do you want to have around you? What environment do you want to have? And that's very important. What people do you want to have? And the main thing I found with people is if you get rid of all the toxic people in your life as much as you can, or learn to handle them, your life is so much easier and so pleasant and so wonderful to work with.
Yeah, I got some toxic people next door here I'd like to get rid of. I'm going to talk to you later how I can do that. But I'm going to put your website up right now. There it is.
Thank you. And one of the things that with the website, if people want to get their photos analyzed, their videos analyzed, find out about their relationship, just go to www.drlillianglass.com, no period after the BR. And it's in 2 L's. And you can, we'll do an analysis for you. So it's a lot of fun.
I did spell that right, Dr. Lillian Glass, didn't I?
Yeah, drlillianglass.com.
Yeah.
Anybody can contact me and get an analysis of what do you think about my relationship? And I've done this all over the world. And I do it for celebrities and for, I've done it in the media. So, it works. It's for fun. It's a lot of fun.
Oh, I've seen you do it. I saw you when you were on Dr. Phil.
Oh, yeah.
And you had a young couple there, and the husband checked out the girl coming through.
Yeah.
And he did check her out. I agree with your assessment there. And you could see she knew that he checked her out.
Oh, yeah.
That was a good episode.
Fun to do. It's there's different aspects of it, and you just see where it works. And things are going to work out the way they're going to work out and surprise you in life. You put it out there, and as I said, sometimes it catches, sometimes it doesn't, and sometimes it's it's really great. And that's you just keep out there and have fun. I think the main thing in life is having joy in your life, and that's what Rosalie's message was, because there was so much joy in her life and so much love. I mean, just loved wherever she went. My goodness,
Yeah, she exuded it
like a magnet. Yeah. And it just wherever she went positivity, nothing negative, nothing. Didn't have an ounce of time for any negativity, and it was just, that's really the way to live. That's the message to.
I wonder. I'm sure she would have been positive, even if she didn't go through the gulag. But I wonder how
at 18 years old to have her own business, and she started it at 15, and had 10 women working for her at 18, and was making men's shirts and going to men's haberdasheries, factory stores, and she had a little factory of her own, and she was doing great. And people in the neighborhood, they fell absolutely madly in love with her. Every man wanted her. And Abraham was smart. He was the smartest one. He played the violin in front of her window. And her mother came out and said, "Hey, who are you, handsome man?" And invited him in, and the rest is history.
Wow. Amazing life. But I do feel that experience in Siberia. And by the way, she did get sent to Siberia. It's not like she was sent to like some warm part of Russia.
No. I went to the University of Minnesota, and I would complain, call her up, and it's so cold here. Because you don't have to tell me about cold. I get it. But at least you have a warm coat, So
but I think maybe that horrific experience, when she decided, I'm going to make my life fun and great, she went full bore. And she did it.
She did. And just, she was an inspiration. She said that people in the gulag would always think, who's going to die next? What's going to happen? They were so negative. And she said, come on, let's just have a good time. Let's think positive. And they all thanked her for having that positive energy, for having that ray of sunshine, which helped them survive, because she was like the catalyst. So, and life, in life, things aren't always easy. Things, you see your life in one way, and it turns out another that you don't expect. And, you just have to kind of figure out what to do next. That was one of her sayings. Think what to do next.
Well, she figured it out. So we've been having a conversation with Dr. Lillian Glass, a great body language detective, an author, 16 books, and let's not forget 4 documentaries now. And I know there's more on the way. She's just got to think about it, and it's coming. And go to Tubi, check out Hey Beautiful, check out Her Mother's Story, Reinventing Rosalie, and De-Escalation. Dr. Glass, thank you so much.
Oh,
I'm so honored that you were with me today. I really am. That's the God honest truth.
Thank you so much. That means tremendous amount. Thank
And
you.
you know, no offense to the other guests, but you're the best one so far.
Oh, well, thank you so much. I hope I'm not just the first guest.
No. There's been others. They've all been really good.
Thank you.
They've all been really good. You're something special. And what we're gonna do, if you don't mind, when you do get the dog book done and it's ready, we got to have you back. And I'll start fielding questions for you.
In a special chair, and you could see her too. You know, she could be on the show as well.
That's gonna be a bestseller. Dog Body Language. Dog Body Language is your #1 book. I have a feeling it's everyone I've mentioned it to is like, oh my God, I need that book. You haven't even it's not even out, and they want the book.
It will be soon, very soon.
So you're very amazing woman, very lucky to have a mother like that. And I think my audience is so happy with this show today. And
thank you. You know, it's as I said, it's not how much money you have. It's not what you've accomplished, you know, how many contacts you have, what you've done in your career. It really is about people that love you and people that are around you. That's richness. That's really, and I'm so blessed to have this awesome woman.
Yeah, we're blessed to have had you today. Thank you so much, Dr. Glass. Thank you.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
All right, Dr. Lillian Glass. Man, she is something. I mean, she's done it all. I wish I was Lillian Glass. Yeah, she's pretty cool. All right, don't forget to patronize our sponsors. I'm going to roll the little graphic for them. They're nice to me too. You've been watching the Morning Smack. Bob Gray, Dr. Lillian Glass. We'll be back again. There's another show coming up. I can't tell you about it. You're just going to have to wait. Might be as soon as tomorrow. All right. You have a great day. I love you. I'm out of here.